Hey there, welcome back to the Field Trip Podcast. My name is Brent. Joining me once again, you know him, you love him. It's Gavin Eddings.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be back here on the podcast. And shout out to Robin Richardson, who actually enjoys your show and also enjoys me on your show. She left some nice comments on my YouTube, Gavin Loves Horror. So wanted to start out with a shout out. Always like when people enjoy me. So that's always fun.
With the positivity. So if you have good things to say about Gavin, send it to his YouTube channel. Or if you have good things to say about me, that always helps. Don't you like just getting a good note from somebody? It's just nice.
I like when somebody sends me a nice note, but they cut the letters out of different magazines. So it's like, it's very threatening, but also very kind. It's like, yeah, I liked your appearance on the podcast. It's like, oh no, but also thank you.
Nobody ever throws a compliment through a window attached to a brick, you know?
We got to get that going. I mean, if you brand that as Hallmark, people will do it.
You're cooking dinner, you hear a crash through the living room window, you pick up the brick. I can tell you've been working out. Keep it up.
Really keeping that New Year's resolution. Nobody like lets the air out of your tires and leaves a nice note next to it.
Yeah. Oh, you got dog shit under your door handle? And also love that top. So Robin, we're saying thank you, Robin, is what was the long way to say that.
What a weird way to say thank you. Be like, why don't you, Robin, we really appreciate if you just threw a brick through our window with an iTunes review, please. We'd really like that.
Stay around in the neighborhood. People like you. That kind of thing. But our topic today is the best opening scenes to movies. So I took to Twitter and I asked people over there. I've looked up lists, put my own list together. Gavin, I sent you the list. You're going to have your own.
Yes.
And the thing that I learned thus far is I've not seen many movies, apparently.
Well, it's hard to think about when you're like, well, what is a good opening for a movie? And you're like, you watch so many movies, but it's hard to think about like the opening. But then when I saw this list, I was like, you're right, all these have just incredible openings.
Yeah. And and some of these are me of like just being a movie fan and liking the opening scene. Some of these are from lists, and I talked to you off mic, but maybe this is already a 2-part episode, because they're like, I will just say so many answers were Saving Private Ryan, and I pulled it up on YouTube and it's a 25-minute opening scene. So it's just like, yeah, of course I want to watch this because I know it's a good movie and it's a good opening scene, but I was also like, just my time, you know.
I love I don't want to go too much into it, but the Saving Private Ryan opening was like the first time people saw D-Day on like on screen. Is before it was in every Call of Duty game that comes out every year when it becomes like ah shit, I gotta play through D-Day again.
Yeah,
we get it, we're pinned down. But it was like you felt like you were there, and it was just very, very violent, very, very gory. And I did see there is a company called Clean Flicks that'll like sanitize movie for like church groups and stuff. And Saving Private Ryan was one of the movies they sanitized. So the whole beach scene is just like them arriving on the beach and then like being immediately there. Like, how are you gonna sanitize Saving Private Ryan? Why even bother?
It's like when you like remember when Walmart would sell CDs and they would have like the edited version.
I was only allowed to buy edited CDs from Walmart.
Oh, really?
So my copy of Limp Bizkit's Significant Other had all the swears taken out.
Yeah, it's like here in Indianapolis, one of the radio stations would have mandatory Metallica, which I think is kind of a thing around the country.
Yes.
It was. And the Metallica has a song called So What? And the lyrics are like, so fucking what? And it's like, I fucked this, I fucked that. I've even fucked a squirrel girl's blank. Like, I wouldn't even say it on this show, but it's like they would play that on the air and it would just be like, so fucking what? Like, that. Like, it's just like, it's funny to hear so many bleeps, but at a certain point, this art is lost to being clean.
There's a Limp Bizkit song on their album, The Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavor Water. I was a big Limp Bizkit fan. I don't know if you could tell. I've named 2 Limp Bizkit albums now.
You are wearing a backwards red hat and a white shirt, and
I
you
am
just
doing.
kept
I
rolling.
am the entire time. I am doing the rolling motion from the video, and there are 2 girls in baggy pants dancing behind me the whole time, and the Undertaker is also here. But there's a song on there that was just like the F word the entire time, and it's like there's no words in this song anymore. Have you gone to what is the point?
And also sometimes when you hear the radio version so many times, it's so jarring to hear the unedited version, and you're just like, I like the radio version better, because it like sometimes I'm trying to think of a good example of I don't even remember anymore, but it was so jarring to hear what the guy was actually saying. I'm like, ugh, that doesn't sound fun at all, you know?
Well, the Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion "Wet Ass Pussy" song, like it's gross. It's very vulgar, but the censored version is "Wet and Gushy," that's somehow worse.
Yeah,
like that "Wet and Gushy," like that is like, is this an open wound? That sounds like a gunshot wound.
Gushy is not really a word described when it like favorably. Man, it was so. This cake was so gushy. You know,
you're not gonna win the British Bake Off with a gushy cake. You can't.
That's about gushy, isn't it?
All right, soggy bottom, gushy.
Sweep your chimney, Mom. You can ask my wife. That is my go-to British person, is just a lady that wants to sweep your chimney.
I really hate when I'm watching Great British Bake Off and they're like, and they're grading cakes and also doing chimney sweeps the entire time. It's like, it's very distracting. Like, just judge the cake, clean the chimney later.
My apologies to the British people, because that's exactly what this Indiana native thinks of you. You sweep your chimney. I know that's not real,
also, sorry, chimney sweeps. It's a very honorable profession.
Yeah. What little there are left of you, but thank you for your service. So let's jump into it. Is there I sent you this list. Is there one that's a favorite for you, Gavin?
Ooh,
best movie list. Openings.
Oh, well, my favorite movie of all time is on this list.
Okay.
And that is the 2008 incredible Batman epic, The Dark Knight. That bank robbery scene is so good. I actually got to see that scene before the movie came out, because it was attached the previous December to showings of I Am Legend. You saw I Am Legend in IMAX. You got to see that bank robbery scene in IMAX in the whole entirety. And I remember being so blown away by that opening scene and being like, I cannot wait to see the rest of this movie. And it's just, it's a great scene, and it really sets the tone of what that movie actually was going to be, which is not your standard superhero movie. It's very much like the movie Heat. It's very much like really good crime epics. And that's why I love that movie and that opening scene so much.
And it's, did you know that one of those clowns was the Joker?
I did not when I first saw it. Like I assumed it might, like, you're always kind of wondering, you're kind of watching it unfold. But then when he takes his mask off, I remember the theater going crazy for like the first reveal of like seeing the Joker in action. It was basically an extended trailer when we saw it. But just, I remember trying to find like leaks on YouTube of that scene before the movie came out. It's just such a great scene. And it really is its own short film, because it has a beginning, a middle, and a good ending, and just all around incredible.
And it's one of those where I think I just went into that movie not having any of the hype. I was like, oh, it's a Batman movie, I'll go see it. And to know that was Heath Ledger was like, because I think I went the whole movie not knowing who that was, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh, dude, like I didn't even know that was him. You couldn't tell. If you didn't know, you wouldn't know, you know?
Because up until that point, Heath Ledger had been in
A Knight's Tale was the thing I knew him from.
He'd been in A Knight's Tale. He'd been in 10 Things I Hate About You. This was post Brokeback Mountain, so people knew him as like the gay cowboy. And so there's a lot of ridicule when he got cast as the Joker. People wanted Crispin Glover. They wanted people that looked more like the Joker. So there's some skepticism, but when he takes off that mask and goes, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger, you're like, oh shit, this is the Joker. And like, I killed the bus driver. You're like, this is, buckle up, because you're in for just an incredible movie.
And there's also one of the other clowns like has a really distinct voice, and I don't think it's a guy that's known for like anything, but it's like when they're up on the roof about to slide in, you could just hear the dude's voice, and it's just like they for something where you can't see guys' facial features, to hear this dude's voice, I was like, that's still really cool that they picked that dude's voice.
Yeah, they all have that very distinct gangster voice style.
Grimy. Yeah, like
like it reminded me a lot of Batman the Animated Series, which you and I both love. It definitely had that very timeless gothic feel of like, yeah, see, without being like, hey, see, Tommy gun.
Yeah. And I also love the one banker that decides to start shooting everybody. Like, man, they're robbing a bank. What do you care? It's
why
like,
why are you trying to get, why is William Fichtner doing this? Why
you know who you're stealing from? You know, like,
okay, you are a bank manager, you'll get it back. It's a mob bank.
Yeah. But also, but I guess one of my biggest problems with The Dark Knight, and that is up there on my favorite movies, is nobody stopped and was like, that bus just pulled out of the bank. That bus just is rammed in and then just pulled out of the bank with dust flying off it.
Also, shout out to the other buses for letting that bus just merge into traffic so easily. It's like, oh, that's Rick. Rick always driving through the bank.
Oh, drunk Rick. But I'm also like, the premise is a guy dressed up as a clown who fights a billionaire guy who dresses up a bat. So again, there's some disbelief, but that movie's so grounded in reality that like for a long time I was like, yeah, it's a great scene, but then they just pulled the bus out of the bank. There's
and
not even a drive-through.
I never thought about it that way. Like, you just assume like somebody'd be like, is that one of ours?
Yeah.
Are there any kids on those? Are there any kids on that bus?
Yeah, there's nobody. But again, it's still, that's
still
even
a great
despite
scene.
that, I love that scene. I love that movie.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where like the movie lives up to the rest of that scene.
Yeah, because there's so many great set pieces in that movie where you have Batman getting the hang glider. He goes to Japan, or he goes to China to like kidnap a man and bring him back, which is like, this is, I mean, you're violating probably some international laws here, Batman, by going to China to kidnap a man. But
Lau, like, was it his name's Lau?
Yeah, but you do you. But yeah, that movie, or that opening scene, just perfect short film, perfect way to introduce the world to the Joker. One of the all-time greats.
Shift gears to something completely different. One of my favorites, and I don't know if you agree, but the opening scene to Office Space.
Oh yeah, where they're sitting in traffic, just trying to get to work. That's a really fun scene. And if you do commute to work, I know you don't have a real job anymore. You just do your little skits.
Yep.
You just do your little skits on the internet. But commuting to work is one of the most mundane and awful things, in trying to get into like different lanes to try to go faster. So it really showed what it's like to be just a worker drone trying to get to work every morning.
Because you've got 3 or 4 different stories told in that 2-minute span of Peter switching lanes because this one's moving, and then when he switches, the other one starts moving. And in my head, I'm like, man, so much of that went away with Zoom, work from home stuff.
Yeah, I work mostly remotely now, like we're mostly work from home, so I don't have to do it anymore, and it's great. I just roll out of bed and like come to my office and clock in. But yeah, just having to go to, and I'm not in a big enough city. Like, I'm down here in Evansville, Indiana. You're up there more towards Indy, so traffic down here is bad, but it's not like LA bad. So but still, it's very relatable in all the ways. And just Michael Bolton like playing his
gangster
music.
rap.
And like he sees the black guy get nearby and like
selling flowers,
and like turns it down,
locks the door, and then he keeps going, and he's like, so I talked to my diary, like just back up with the gangster rap. Like, it's so funny. And then Samir, the other guy, is just losing his shit in the car. And then also there's a guy in a walker walking faster than Peter. Yeah, but so it's like all the things of like, man, this 2-minute scene is this movie, The Rat Race.
Yes. So just a really good Office Space is it took me a while to finally come around to Office Space. I always thought it was funny because they played it nonstop on Comedy Central from like 2002 to 2004. So it took me till like 2005 when they released like an anniversary edition of it to finally like sit down and like watch it all together instead of like seeing like
Chunks.
a piece here
Yeah.
and a piece here. I watched Office Space like I watched Pulp Fiction, where it's like all out of chronological order. But when you finally watch it, and even now if I watch it, there's just so many little jokes that it's just it's super funny.
And I've watched it again in the past year. This is, if I had a top 10 of comedy movies, it's in my top 10. And watched it in the past year. Still holds up, still funny, still relevant.
I love when Diedrich Bader's character like is like,
Peter
hey,
Man,
Peter Man, the breast, turn it to channel 3. Like it's a breast exam.
My favorite, I say all the time, and nobody knows what I'm talking about, but he's like, I gotta wake my ass up every day at 6 a.m. I'm doing the drywall down at the McDonald's. Like, like nobody, if you don't know the movie, you're like, what is this dude talking about? But just makes, because he's such a great character. Everybody knows a guy that's just like, you know, two chicks at the same time type guy, you know.
Fucking A,
Peter. Another, do you want to choose another one?
Yeah, well, I kind of talked about it. I kind of mentioned it offhand, how I watched Office Space like this movie, but Pulp Fiction has, and that is any of those scenes could be the opening scene of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
But the scene of Honey Bunny and the other one who I can never remember.
Tim Roth, I think.
Yes. Honey Bunny and Tim Roth's character talking about like who to rob. And it's just, it's two people talking. There's not a lot going on. It's just this long extended conversation about how they want to rob the diner, how they robbed a liquor store, and how they got more from the wallets than the actual cash register, and just really weighing their options on should they rob this diner. And it's super compelling, and you're like on the edge of your seat, even though it's two people talking the whole time.
And it's so weird that they've had a full meal and then they're just like, all right, let's rob the place. Like, just sitting that, like any other time they would like dine and dash, but they're like, let's just rob this place. And it's such a flip of like, all right, this is a robbery. And she's like, don't you motherfuckers move. Like,
I thought the actress was here right now. That is a spot on impression. That was
sweep your chimney.
Why is the chimney sweep back? You bought the chimney sweep cut, didn't you?
You're gonna book a chimney sweeping with me. I don't own a chimney, but okay.
But yeah, what I really like, the way my mind works, and it's kind of going back to like how'd that bus pull out the bank. You got to think that waitress is like, how long are they going to have this conversation? They're holding up my table. I got to turn this over so I can get some more tips.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. Oh no. And it's also, I think that opening lends itself because the movie does eventually come back around to that diner.
Yes, because you have Jules and Vincent who are there at the diner eating, who have to like talk them down. So it's a nice wraparound to the movie.
Yeah, and it's some of these opening scenes may not be as strong if they weren't callbacks to the movie. Like I think it's a good opening scene, but it's made so much better that we get it loops back around.
Yeah, so Pulp Fiction is a really fun one, but like I said, any of those scenes, it feels like more. It's like individual scenes that have distinct beginning, middles, and ends. And any of those scenes you put in there for Pulp Fiction, like it's an opening scene because that movie is just an absolute classic.
Do you have a favorite scene in that movie?
Oh, I shot Marvin in the face. They're just talking about hamburgers and Royale with cheese. And you ever have one, Marvin? Oh shit, I shot Marvin in the face.
I do like the wolf, the guy they bring in to clean up.
And
I
you get to
just
hear Quentin Tarantino say the N-word for no reason.
that no, you know what? I take it back. That's my favorite part is when he
When
says
as a
it for
white
no
man.
to a black guy's face. Just oh man. God damn, this is some gourmet shit, Jimmy. Like I just love Sam Jackson so much. What is your favorite Quentin Tarantino movie?
Ooh, that is tough. I really like Django Unchained.
Mm-hmm.
I think Django Unchained is great. And it's to the point now where like he's had so many movies come out, it's hard to kind of keep track. Because for a while he only had like 4, where it's like
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, and Kill Bill, and you're like, well, which of these 4 movies? But
Mm-hmm.
now he's done a lot of other stuff like Hateful Eight. He did Django Unchained. I
Once
would
Upon a
probably,
Time in Hollywood and Glorious Bastards, you know.
yeah. I probably, I really love Kill Bill as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me is my favorite. I love Pulp Fiction for a long time.
Yeah.
And then after doing rewatch, I think I watched Pulp Fiction too much where I kind of got burnt out on it. And it became almost, I think I just got tired of seeing like people dressing as Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction for Halloween.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, too mainstream now. They got the needle sticking out. I get it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over
damn.
it. Okay. It's ruined. All
Yeah.
the hipsters are being Uma. But I think I like Kill Bill the most. I think it tells the most complete story, and I just really like the mix of like anime and action, and just Kill Bill is my favorite.
I'm gonna go with Jackie Brown is my favorite.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That is one that is kind of the forgotten movie.
It's the second one, and I just think Samuel Jackson steals the show with that movie, and it's so funny. Like the best ever sex scene is in that movie when it's Robert De Niro and Bridget Fonda, and she goes, "Do you want to fuck?" And he goes, "Okay," and it cuts to 3 minutes later. He's behind her in the kitchen, and like just pants are barely down, and they're just like, and then it ends, and then he pulls his pants up and he goes, "It hit the spot." I just love that he describes sex as that hit the spot.
Like he just had a corn dog.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't come into this gas station for a corn dog, but this corn dog, let me tell you, it hits the spot.
I didn't know I needed it, but man, did I need it.
One of my favorite Samuel L. Jackson lines in that movie when he's like, the AK-47, when you absolutely positively have to kill every motherfucker in the room.
Yeah. I love that movie so much. And there are other ones that I just haven't seen enough. So with that being said, an opening scene in Glorious Bastards.
Yes.
Now this one was one I got to squeeze in because that was again on Twitter and on the list. It was Inglorious Bastards, and I pulled it up on YouTube, and it's like 20 minutes, and I was like, God damn, I'm trying to watch a bunch of opening scenes, and when you give me a 20-minute one, that cuts out the rest of them. But I watched it before we recorded, and people are right. It's a great opening scene.
It is so intense and just so stressful, and you don't expect it to go the way that it does.
Mm-hmm.
You expect the guy to just be very brave and to not sell out the Jews that he's hiding, but just it's so heartbreaking when he just like points down to the floor,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, well, everybody's gonna die now.
Yeah. And the guy, the farmer's performance of just his blank stare, like just defeated look, but also Christoph Waltz, like just that, like the guy could just read things, and I'd be like, man, this guy's such a good actor. Like the way he has a way of speaking. But in that scene, I think he's speaking French, Italian, German, and English. Like this, I'm like, I can't even act in my native language, let alone this dude just doing all the languages.
Yeah, and that's what made it so he's such a good actor. And I think of him as one of like Quentin Tarantino's guys. He's been in enough movies now where he's like one of the Tarantino guys. And when I saw him as like the fun dentist in Django Unchained, it was like such a huge transition from being like this very focused Nazi to it's just like, what? Because some people, you look at him and you're like, I'm going to see him as a Nazi forever. But he is such a good actor that he really slides into any other role. And I don't think he is appreciated as much as somebody as like a Daniel Day-Lewis, who everybody just jizzes all over. They're like, Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's like this. He seems like he seems like a nightmare to be around. Where it's like, I don't want to call you Abraham Lincoln all the time.
My name is Mr. Lincoln.
Why does your Abraham Lincoln sound like Richard Nixon?
My name, I am not a crook. Mary Todd and I are not crooks.
4 years ago.
I didn't place the recorder in the Watergate Hotel.
I once had a penny and I walked all the way back because I'm honest Abe.
I cannot tell a lie. My hips cannot tell a lie.
This is now not just a presidential impression podcast.
Yeah,
where it's like, but every president is just Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. It's the most accessible voice to me. So I drink your milkshake, sir. Then that was on the list too, was the opening to There Will Be Blood, but it's 5 minutes of no dialogue, so I didn't really include that, but that was on lists.
But it's 5 minutes of the best acting you've ever seen of a man just digging in a hole.
He really broke his leg. That's how much of a method actor he is he really broke his leg, everybody.
He's like, do it.
Do it. We'll change gears here. You and I are both horror fans, so it just kind of happened that we have I put a lot of horror on here, and I'm sure you have a lot too, but the movie Scream from, I think, 96.
Yes.
Just the overall beginning of Drew Barrymore is featured heavily on the cover. Like, this is her movie, and she gets it within the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's just like the idea of like a phone killer. And after seeing the new Scream that came out a few weeks ago, it's still people always wonder, like, why don't they just hang up the phone? If you're being like psychologically tormented by somebody, you're going to keep picking up the phone no matter what. But
and especially if the guy's like, I'm outside. Like,
yeah, you're like, am I in the house? Which door am I at? And I really, really enjoy the open. I think the Scream franchise is one of the most underrated. I think the horror genre may have been completely dead if not for the revitalization that Scream brought to the genre in 96. Because up until that point, it was just like Hellraiser sequels that were shit. The Curse of Michael Myers, which is by all, but then you had this breath of fresh air of Scream come out, and then the sequels, and it really saved the genre. And then suddenly you've got movies like Urban Legend, and you've got Scream ripoffs, but at least you're getting movies that are in the similar vein, where it's not just like sequels to other crap. Yeah.
Well, and it's such iconic things of like, a movie really hit was in the zeitgeist when it starts to get parodied.
Yeah.
Like the original title of Scream was called Scary Movie, and there's been about 8 Scary movies, and even if you said, what's your favorite scary movie? Like, you just say it in that voice,
Yeah, and people know what you're talking about. It also led to other terrible parodies. Like we all talk about, like, well, Scary Movie 1 and 2 are funny, but then there's like Scary Movie like 3 to 5, and then Epic Movie, and like all these other parody
Meet the
movies.
Spartans, and I don't even know if that was part of
I think it is actually, where they're like, we can't call it whatever movie. But yeah, seeing Drew Barrymore just give a hell of a performance in that, where she's just acting to nobody. It's just her talking to nobody in a phone, and just having to get more and more hysterical. This guy's outside. Just a great opening scene. And I always love an opening scene when they hit you hard and then do a hard cut to the title screen. That's when you're like, oh, okay, that was a great opening scene, when you're like, this is how the movie starts.
Well, and even you're like, oh, they didn't even do the credits. Like, I was so into the scene, I didn't realize it started, essentially,
Yeah, that's how like there's a movie on this list. I'm not gonna say that right now, but it starts out and there's nothing on it. And I was like, is this another trailer? Is it, because it's like, is this a commercial for something? Or is it gonna tell me to turn my cell phone off? Where are we going here?
Yeah. Well, do you want to jump to that one?
Yeah, it's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
because the movie opens up with Star-Lord like in the hospital, like talking to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, is this just a commercial for like hospice care? Like what what a weird thing to play before a movie. But then when the real opening scene begins, when he's like on the planet, he's dancing, he's like singing into the thing. And
Yeah.
and up until Guardians of the Galaxy, the Marvel movies were always fun, but this was like the most fun they had been. Where the other ones like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, this was post the first Avengers movie. Those were fun movies, but they still were kind of had a little bit of an edge to it.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy is just one of the most fun movie experiences you can have. You've got a talking raccoon, you've got a tree, you've got
And a
Chris
guy who
Pratt.
thinks he's invisible, like
Yeah.
Dave Batista,
You've got Batista acting his ass off
Mm-hmm.
and not having to Batista bomb anybody, which actually took it down in my book.
Yeah.
But I digress. But you got Chris Pratt being super charming, who up until that point had just been Andy really on Parks and Rec. He had been on like some other shows, but Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec was like what he was known for. So people saw him as like the tubby, funny
Mm-hmm.
guy. So to see him be able to bring the fun of that character into the Marvel universe and just the soundtrack of just so much fun.
And like, I'm not like that. I like that movie, but it's not my like, man, I gotta watch that again. But that really like shows how much a soundtrack can affect. Cause I was like, I should get that soundtrack, and I would like the soundtrack more than I like this movie. But it really like this, the red, was it Leon Redbone? Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Like, it's just like, that's like now it's a song that people know, and it's a song that's people have known for a while, but it's also like, oh, now like this is a song that probably your kid knows because of this movie,
And I think that soundtrack from Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it went platinum. It was one of the best selling. I think it was the first soundtrack to go platinum since I think Garden State. People absolutely loved the. You can still go to Walmart and buy the vinyl from
Yeah,
Guardians of the
yeah.
Galaxy. It's like, when's the last time you saw a soundtrack on vinyl that wasn't like the Frozen soundtrack or Disney related? It's like, this is, I mean, I guess technically Guardians of the Galaxy is Disney related because the mouse owns us all.
Ho-ho! I'll crack your skull if you don't fall in line and sweep my chimney.
now, if you could only have Mickey Mouse and Richard Nixon argue, it would just be like you're having a schizophrenic episode.
I am not a crook, Mickey, I promise. I saw the tapes. Well, on this Guardians of the Galaxy, we have Hooked on a Feeling, we have Spirit in the Sky, Fooled Around and Fell in Love, Come and Get Your Love, the Redbone, the beginning of this, the intro song, like so many other songs in this. And it's all it is. It's like, like with this intro, it's like, it's a way to have fun while seeing who produced this movie. Usually I'm like, all right, let's fast forward through these credits, but I'm like, oh, this is fun. He's, kicking all these lizard things around,
Whenever I think of bad credit openings, I think of the Friday the 13th series, where it's just like the scariest music with like names on it. And you're like, this is going on for, they just gave the caterer a front of movie trailer or front of movie credit right now, like craft services, Jerry, like Jerry. You're like, I am pissing myself right now reading Jerry's name. Can we maybe chill a little bit?
It's not fun. How do you feel about the Jaws opening credits? The opening scene.
I think Jaws is overrated. No, I love Jaws.
Yeah.
I think Jaws is great. One thing that gets me about that opening is I can never tell what time of day it is, because at the beach, it's like, I think nighttime when they're like partying on the beach, but then they go out by the water. And I was like, did they just put a darkened filter over this? Is it daytime now?
I think it's like night into morning.
Okay.
Like they had an all night bonfire on the beach, and then they're going to skinny dip or swim. And then you know what happens after that.
Yeah.
And the guy passes out on because I watched this last night because I've seen Jaws, but the most iconic thing to me is the shark coming out and, all that sort of any kind of dun 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 that, which you get that at the very beginning of the credits, you get that soundtrack already in your head, but then she just gets eaten by a shark, and it's just, getting dragged around and this dude's passed out on the beach. So, and on Twitter, a lot of people said the Jaws opening and they're like, this is why I won't even night swim anymore. And it's, you could be in like a pond in the middle of Indiana where there are no sharks, but you're like, I'm not gonna risk it.
Yeah, that's a great scene. At at Days of the Dead last year up in Indy, they actually had a lot of the cast there from Jaws. So I got to meet, I think her name is Susan Buckley, who is the girl at the beginning who gets eaten. And she talked about, she's like, it was so cold, and it was like she had no idea how iconic it was going to become. She's like, I'm doing this movie, and now she's like at conventions, like signing Jaws posters forever and ever. She's on the poster. Yeah. And just the undershot of her, like her legs kicking and just the slow dread of getting closer, like there's something in the water here. And just like the buoy, just after she gets killed, just like the buoy, like going back and forth, like nothing ever happened.
Well, and it's also, that's no mystery of what is in the water. It's called Jaws. There's a shark on the poster, and we're all like, oh no, oh
no, we're starting out hot with the shark eating somebody already. And you know, that guy that passed out has to feel like a dick. He's just like, how do you fall asleep so fast?
You get drunk, you're real drunk, and fall asleep on the beach.
And more than anything, you and I, we just get blackout drunk every weekend.
I can't tell you how many girlfriends I've had eaten by sharks because of my drinking problem.
I'm always like, hey, babe, let's go skinny dipping. And he's like, stop taking her to the same part of the ocean.
Yeah, it's not. I need to get help is what I'm saying.
If you've lost more than one girlfriend to shark attacks due to your alcoholism,
that's true.
You might need to check into a rehab.
You go to rehab. One that I had never seen and made lists, and I don't know if you've seen, but it's almost reminiscent of Office Space, but it has a bigger twist. La La Land. Have you seen that before?
I have seen La La Land, but I honestly cannot tell you anything about it. Yeah, that is one that I cannot remember very well. Only thing I remember from that movie is, if you're about to leave Los Angeles and give up on your dream, just do one more show and you will get signed and become a famous person.
I've done that for 30 shows and nothing has happened.
Well, you got to do the right show. Are people showing up to your shows?
No, that's the thing.
No, I was gonna say that actually you just got to get one person, one producer to come check out your little skits.
Dear Steven Spielberg.
And then once you perform for that one person, they will put you in Scary Movie 7.
That's true.
And it's just all uphill from there, Daddy. Just all gravy.
Well, this opening, as I pulled it up on YouTube, they're all stuck in traffic.
It's all coming back to me now.
It turns in, because I think this whole movie is a musical, but it turns into them doing a song on the freeway, and it's great choreography and such a long. They're down the highway and people are dancing and synchronized, and I was impressed with the scene. I don't know that I'd watch this movie because it doesn't seem like something that I would watch, even though I do like musicals.
It's okay. I liked it. It's not one I go back to revisit because a big part of it is like I like to mock the movie because it's all about Ryan Gosling like being a jazz man, like he's real into jazz.
Yeah.
And he's always like he's like whenever I was dating a girl when I watched this movie, and then I'm dating a girl now, but different girl. Yeah, nice. I just want to humble brag a little bit that I do have a woman in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's this line in the movie where he's like, jazz, it's conflict, the trumpet players going back and forth with like the pianist. So I would always just quote, be like, jazz is conflict, for like no reason. I'd be like, you hear that? It's conflict, it's jazz, like he's trying to get his solo in, but then he wants to get his solo in. Yeah. And now it just sounds like trash because they're all soloing at the same time.
That's jazz fusion or whatever it was. I don't know. So that was on the list. I may watch the movie, but it's not. I was like, we'll listen to the list and talk about one. But nothing that stuck out to me. So
yeah, a lot of these. It's fun. And now that you were saying, I thought that was it later in the movie for some reason, but yeah, I guess it is the
According to
opening
YouTube, some of these, like I haven't seen that movie, so that could be the middle of the movie, and I wouldn't know, Gavin. Like,
scene. I'm telling you, but that sounds about right. That sounds
yeah,
about right.
I added some zombie movies to this one, but probably my favorite opening of a lot of movies is Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Up till it's in black and white, and you get the scene in the cemetery of "They're coming to get you, Barbara." Like that's
Stop it.
another
You're
line.
being ignorant.
Yeah, you're ignorant. Like I just say that. I just say they're coming to get you, Barbara, all the time for no
Same.
reason,
Same.
and like just then Johnny gets his head bashed in by the zombie, and then she's driving, and of course she's a woman, doesn't know how to drive.
Oh shit, Joe Rogan over here with the hot takes.
Well, back in 1968, that's how women, did things.
Back then, they couldn't even vote or get a license.
But like, I love that cemetery setting. I just love the whole. It's just a good piece of business, Gavin.
A good piece of business. They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah, just I don't even know what it is about it, but she makes it to the house, and then just a great. I've watched that scene, so many times, without watching the rest of the movie.
What's funny though is like they're coming to get you, Barbara. Like you need to move. He's gonna, and then he just gets beat down with
Yeah,
that zombie windmills him. Just really puts all of his oomph into it.
Yeah, usually he would he's like killing you. He's not biting you, he's killing you,
You're like, ah.
Another zombie movie was the Dawn of the Dead remake. I don't know how you feel about that.
It's probably my favorite Zack Snyder movie.
Mm-hmm.
Zack Snyder's gone on to do the Justice League. He did a lot of stuff in the DC universe. All of it just shit, just not very good. Dawn of the Dead for me is he peaked so early in his career that because it's very grounded in reality. It was before every horror movie was being remade.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre had come out a little bit prior,
mm-hmm.
but then you had Dawn of the Dead, which the Romero Dead movies were beloved, but they weren't so beloved that you couldn't remake them.
Yeah.
And Dawn of the Dead remake, I really love it. It was one of the first times seeing fast zombies, like traditional zombies. 28 Days Later had showed like the fast infected, which were kind of zombies, but this was like just the shambling undead now just booking it at you in a mall. And that scene with like the bathroom and the little girl turning and just eating her dad, and then the dad like screaming at his wife and like trying to bust through the door.
And that like you enter the movie and she's going to her neighborhood and all is peaceful and quiet, and then she sleeps 8 hours and wakes up and shit has hit the fan.
First off, unrealistic. Nobody is getting 8 hours of sleep. That is a myth.
Yeah,
that is a myth. She should not have woken up that refreshed on the dawn of the zombie apocalypse
of the dead. But yeah, I just love it's a great just chaos. You could rewatch it and be like, oh, over there's a big fire, but over here they're eating this dude. Like there's so much going on.
It's got a lot of good background work, and I think the little girl zombie was terrifying because like, oh, our daughter is now a monster and is eating us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just think it's good. I don't have any other thing to say about it.
Cool. This is really insightful. This
is awesome.
This is awesome. I do like the part when the guy jumps on the car and like punches through the windshield. Like that's terrifying.
Yeah, like you think the car's safe. Like that's home base. You can't get me now. No,
and
nope.
he's like, no, I'm gonna punch it. You're like,
I'm gonna get you.
Well played, sir.
And then I had another one, Shaun of the Dead. Sorry that there's so many zombie movies that I added to the list.
Well, at least we're just like knocking them off one after the other. Just boom, boom, boom.
But you get it's Shaun waking up, and you get all these scenes of zombies, but they're humans, so they're all looking down at their phone. They're all shuffling down the sidewalk like they were zombies before they were zombies.
It's like a social commentary of some sort.
That's right. And that you get a scene of a zombie walking stiffly, and you hear a ooh, but it's just Shaun stretching and like makes his way to the shop and gets a drink, which in this is a movie where it really lends itself to, then you get the scene again later in the movie when everybody's a zombie, but you don't know that they're all zombies because he's still half asleep, not paying attention. So he's walking past zombies, but you have to have the first scene to set up the second scene.
And what's great about that long scene is I believe it's all one take, where he's just like walking and like weaving and like going into the convenience store and then buying the stuff and then walking back. So it really it draws you in. You want to follow what's going on. And yeah, like you said, it's like a nice difference from when he's just like living his regular life to there's zombies here now and nobody's even noticing. And I don't know if I would notice if people were zombies anymore.
That's true. Like it's weird. I live in a major city, but I don't do much. So it's like, it might be a while before I notice that my neighbor's eating my neighbor.
Well, you and I mostly work from home unless you're like doing your shows out on the road. Yeah. But it's like, you could tell me like there've been zombies for 3 weeks. I'd be like, well, shit, it didn't show up on Netflix. So I don't know what happened.
So that's why my food order didn't get to the house. Okay.
DoorDash got eaten. The person got eaten, not my and my DoorDash probably.
There's probably zombies ordering not necessarily DoorDash, but the delivery guy to come to the door. I ordered delivery.
Actually, he's DiGiorno.
That one on the list, the movie Spectre from James Bond 007. I'm not a big James Bond guy, but I did watch the opening to this.
That's the opening I have not seen. I saw like Casino Royale, and that has a really fun opening with he's like doing the parkour on the scaffold on like the construction site. But I have not seen the opening to Spectre, unfortunately.
Yeah, this one is like a big helicopter fight scene over thousands of people at like a Day of the Dead celebration. So you're like, oh, they're gonna die and crash into thousands of people.
I like the way you somehow brought Day of the Dead into a James Bond movie.
Hey man, they don't let me host this podcast for nothing, which is exactly what I make is nothing but on my own show.
They're actually watching George A. Romero's Day of the Dead just on the people are watching it on a big screen. It's a very weird set piece for a movie.
But yeah, I'm not a big James Bond guy, but I do like try to see those movies if it's a time where I'm like, oh, I got time to go to the movies. This is playing. I don't really care if it's bad. I go more for the action type stuff, you know?
And that's what James Bond movies are really for. And the misogyny mostly. That's why I watch it.
You know what? That's why I like it. It's the same reason I like those Quentin Tarantino movies. So, not same, but
back then you could just smack a woman on the butt and say, run along, man talk, and nobody batted an eye. Now you do it, they'll get on Twitter and they'll cancel you.
Yeah, that's why I like Mad Men so much.
It's a simpler time.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, which it's been so long since I've seen these Indiana Jones movies, but again, this is one of those opening scenes that's been parodied so much. People just running away from a giant ball.
I've never seen it. What's it about? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Nazis, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, the whole getting the sand and like switching the idol and like running from the giant boulder. I mean, it's a set piece in the Indiana Jones stunt show at Disney World, where it's like he's gonna run from the ball and he's gonna get up. And everybody forgets though, Alfred Molina gets killed in the beginning of that movie.
Yeah, because at first I was like, this guy's got to be somebody. And I was like, oh yeah, that's Doc Ock. I just didn't know I didn't know his name. I know his name, but I couldn't think of it at the time.
But yeah, the Indiana Jones, it's a very fun opening because it kind of shows like what kind of guy he is. He's pretty crafty. He dumps the sand out. He swaps it. He's like, yeah, okay, we're good here. Then he's being chased by a giant ball.
Yeah. And it's, again, been, like I'm sure Animaniacs there's so many like adult versions of things in children's cartoons. I think there was parodied on Rugrats. So it's one of those where you've seen this movie, but you've not seen this movie,
Yeah, everybody knows. Like, I think it's absolutely the most iconic scene out of the entire series by far is the him being chased by the ball, switching the statue. There's other stuff in it that's I think the only other thing that I can think of that would be as iconic is either the face melting at the end or him shooting the guy with the swords who like does the cool like tricks with the swords. And he shoots him. But yeah, man, the being chased by the giant boulder is like the scene, and it's probably one of the most famous scenes Harrison Ford's done.
Yeah, and that's a guy who's been in Star Wars and just like iconic movies.
Definitely. So
go ahead.
One that I have that I would be doing everyone a disservice if I did not mention it. It is Face Off.
I've never seen this, but go ahead.
You've never seen Face Off?
I know.
Let me tell you how it begins. You start on a carousel. You've got John Travolta and his son having a good time at a park on a carousel. They're laughing, having a good time. You zoom out. You see somebody looking through a sniper rifle scope. It's Nicolas Cage smoking a cigarette with a mustache.
Uh-oh.
So they are trying to fight each other. They are the ones who are going to have the face off. They're going to swap faces in this movie. But to get to that point, you have to have a hot opener. So the carousel goes around. You see Nicolas Cage lick his lips and steady his shot. You hear a gunshot, and then John Travolta screams, "Holy shit, he's killed the bullet goes through John Travolta and kills his son." The movie opens with Nicolas Cage with a mustache shooting a child with a sniper rifle. And that is the least crazy thing in the movie.
Yeah, I know the premise of it. They switch faces, right? Like that's
yeah, they take their faces off. The I don't know if the science is good. But it is definitely the best movie I've ever seen. Like, I legitimately love Face Off. It's one of my favorite movies. I've seen it at least 20 times. If I'm in a bad mood, I will put on Face Off as background noise. And the whole movie from there, when you open up a movie with Nicolas Cage shooting a child with a high-powered rifle, it's almost like when you do improv and you start out too hot. But Face Off, yes, ands the fuck out of it. They're like, okay, you shot a child on a carousel with a high-powered rifle. Well, we're going to make you swap faces and also talk about eating a peach for hours and just a lot of weird stuff in this. You need to watch Face Off.
Okay.
Everybody listening needs to watch Face Off right now because it is incredible.
Yeah, it's like you started at a 10. It's like Michael Scott always having a gun in the improv.
Yes, that's what I was. Yes, when he's like, he says he can't show it to me, but he has a gun. That is Nicolas Cage gunning down John Travolta's kid at the beginning of Face Off. And then somehow everybody else in Michael Scott's improv group's like, okay, we're going to work with this. We all now have bazookas.
Do you have more on your list? Because I'm anxious to see what you had.
Face Off is one that I wanted to talk about, and then I think the original Halloween, that long tracking shot of being through the eyes of the killer, through the house. You see somebody pick up a knife. You see somebody go up the stairs. Just
the shortest sex scene. It's probably the second hottest scene behind Robert De Niro.
Yeah, the guy in Halloween also said, "Yeah, Judith, that really hit the spot.
That hit the spot."
But I mean, they're teenagers. They got to bust too soon. Okay,
well,
it's accurate. I mean, I don't bust too soon. What up? I have that Sting sex, the wrestler, not the tantric love.
I'm still not busted from the last time I had sex. That's how much I don't bust.
I hold out so long, it's days later, and then I'm in a meeting, and then I bust.
I also like that instead of any other word, you and I have chosen bust. Like, I'm a bust.
You ever be in a museum and bust on a bust of a president? Oh my God. It's busception.
When you're on that bus in the dark night pulling out of the bank and you bust all over the place.
And you bust all over the bus, pulling out when the bus should be pulling out. I pull out, the bus don't. Oh. But so Halloween, it's great.
It is a not a law. There's a one edit in that shot, and that I only know it because of the commentaries.
Yeah.
But the Panaglide camera that they used when Michael puts on the clown mask is when they edit that shot. But it's just a long shot, and it's her Judith getting stabbed in the window. But yeah, and it just, if you see like a Blu-ray 4K version of that, like it just looks so good and it's so simple. And then at the end they pull away and Michael's, wearing the clown suit with the knife and they're like, Michael, and it just pans out, great music. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what makes that scene is not only the camera work going upstairs, watching somebody pick up a knife, stab somebody, and then leave. It's revealed that this was a child that just did this. And then you pan out and Nicolas Cage has a sniper rifle.
And Loomis had to stop him. Otherwise, the movie wouldn't have happened. I shot him 6 times in the face.
Only would have taken Nicolas Cage 1 time.
Yeah, did you have other ones too besides
well
Halloween?
one of them I had one of them that I had, I really hate that all of my ones are like horror movies.
We do have a lot of horror, and I was conscious of that too, but sometimes a good opening is a good opening.
I think horror movies have some of the best openings because you have to set the tone for horror. With Scream, you have to set that tone. And one that I remember being in the theater watching it, it's on this list. I was curious if it would make it, but it's one that came to my mind. The Friday the 13th remake from 2009.
Yeah.
It is a 20-minute opening scene. You meet characters, you get to know them, they get murdered, and then when the last one's about to get killed, then you smash to a title card 18 minutes into the movie. That was just unheard of because you thought that you might be following these characters throughout the entire movie, that you're getting to know them, but they're just fodder for the first 18 minutes.
That opening is so good, and maybe the rest of the movie's not so good. I like this. I like that movie, but I've heard several people be like, if they just cut the movie off after that 20 minutes, I would have loved it. Like, that's such a good, like, there's a visual in there where somebody is hanging from a rope in a sleeping bag, dangling over a fire, and just what a great visual that is.
Like, Jason is cooking teens over an open fire. Like, it's weird. Like, what? This Jason's hunting people. And I think what people didn't like about the Friday the 13th is because it has such a strong beginning, and it feels like a Friday the 13th movie where this Jason's brutal, and then he kind of like becomes like a weird hunter with like underground tunnels, and like is obsessed with like Daniel Panabaker, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is fun.
I like the movie, but I see why people wouldn't. And like, he's running fast, like he's a hunter. I do like the hunter aspect of it, and you don't get the hockey mask you set. You get what's more of a turban in this instance, but it's like bandages over his head. Like, man, just a big imposing figure.
I thought the choice to make Jason Middle Eastern and to put him in the turban was a very brave choice for 2009.
Yeah, it was after 2001. No. Oh boy.
But Jason does get the mask in the movie because the guy's in a barn like busting, and
to a magazine.
he was busting, and Jason's like, you can't hold your bust, and then kills him and then takes the mask.
I like that movie, and I think that's one where it's like the movie, it's like with Scream, that could just be a short film on its own. I would much with like Inglourious Bastards, like
that. Yeah, when you can, and I've said it a bunch here, when you can like have like a short film be your opening, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's got a beginning, middle, and end. And then like, oh, if this is the opening, I can't wait to see the rest of it. And sometimes it doesn't always happen, but
And then one movie that I just remembered and thought of that was really ahead of its time, the original Fast and the Furious movie, when it opens with the street racers like robbing a truck. And it's been
so long since I've seen that movie.
I watch them regularly because people talk about how some movies are like very, very dated and like very much a product of their time. 2001's Fast and the Furious is like the perfect time capsule of the year 2000 and 2001. They are stealing DVD TV combos.
Yeah.
Everybody is driving a Mitsubishi Spider with underglow. And they're just and you can call people slurs, and everybody's like, okay, yeah, this makes good.
What kind of slurs, Gavin?
What kind of slur? All right, here it starts with an F.
Okay, no, cut.
Okay.
You want to race for pink slips?
Race for pinks. But the scene of them robbing the truck and like using grappling hooks to pull the truck over, and just seeing like, if you're doing a robbery, you're using the most conspicuous cars. And I'd be like, well, what car was it? Well, it was a Honda Civic with green shit underneath it.
It was bright pink and bright green. And
Michelle Rodriguez was hanging out the sunroof.
Yeah, the guy says Michelle Rodriguez, not a whatever character name. And Vin Diesel was there.
Vin Diesel was there. Dom Toretto, he kept talking about family. He's like, we're doing this for my family.
For family. Yeah, some of those, it's like, those are okay movies, but some, like, I think action movies really lend themselves to just having great openings. It's just like, blow some shit up, do a stunt, I'm in.
Yeah. And that's what the Fast and the Furious, that original opening was. And nobody had seen like the street racers before in movies, really, where like the Underglow and like Racing for Pinks. And we still all quote those movies to this day. And so much of it started with that movie about racing for pinks and street racing. Like after that movie came out, everybody started robbing trucks with their DVD players and also racing illegally on the streets.
Yeah, no matter what car you had, you left the theater and you're like, vroom, vroom.
And you're like, you're in a Fiero right now.
Yeah, you have no gears to shift. You are just
you are just going from neutral to drive. Why? This is bad on the transmission.
Well, I think maybe there's enough for a part 2, Gavin, and we'll have to.
Yeah, let's come back to it.
Yeah, I think this was a lot of fun, and it's maybe a great way to see a lot of movies at once with not having to actually see them. It's just I watch the openings.
We'll just need to go on YouTube and be like, the best opening scene compilations. And by the end of it, we'll be like, we could have just watched a whole movie.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah.
Because like Friday the 13th, that's 20 minutes long. Like that's an episode of The Office. Brent.
That's true.
It's an episode of The Office.
Inglourious Bastards with 20 minutes. Yeah, some of these. So next time I do want to do it right and watch Saving Private Ryan with the full 25 minutes so I can give my full and complete thoughts, because I know that's what you've been wanting.
People, Brent Hune reacts to Saving Private Ryan.
I'm just gonna do reacts to movies that are like 20 years old.
That might be what I needed, because I keep that's my problem. I keep on my channel Gavin Loves Horror, I keep doing reaction to new shit. I need to react to old shit.
Well, and you pick a fan favorite, like you know, I don't know, Scream. Like Scream's 25 years old or whatever. You could do that.
Yeah, I could just I feel like my reaction would be so disingenuous to be like, what's gonna happen? Is Drew Barrymore not gonna survive this movie I've seen 29 times?
Where are the parents at?
Where are they? Where were the parents at?
And the heroin.
I'm glad you got what I was. I'm glad you picked up what I was like. You're like, that's Eminem. I am whoever I say. Where were the parents?
Yeah, check out Gavin Loves Horror. I just watched your review of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre trailer. So when anything big happens in the horror community, you're commenting on it.
Yes, I try to. Whenever I see a trailer come out, I love doing it, but also when I see a trailer come out, like, shit, I gotta put out a video today.
God damn it, I gotta work now.
I gotta do at least 3 hours of editing on this to get my 30 views. I need these 30 views.
Well, it could be 31 if you, the listener, right now goes over to YouTube and subscribes to Gavin Loves Horror.
I recently hit 420 subscribers, so you know what that means. Blaze it.
Blaze it.
You gotta weed till I die.
As soon as I know how to learn how to smoke weed, I am there, baby.
Yeah.
But Gavin, thank you for being on the program.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Brent.
Thanks for being here. Oh,
all right. Until next time.
You shot my child's face off. See you, man.